It's week 15, and we have a
Let's
jam-packed show
go.
today. We have our week 15 predictions, game predictions, of course. We have our best bets, power rankings, and much more. We're even going to talk about some quarterback futures. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Let's kick off this video with our power rankings going in to week number 15. Now, for our weekly listeners, we're going to go through these a little bit quicker this week here as we want to talk about some quarterbacks at the end of the show. Now, let's get into mine. Again, 6 through 10 here. I'm going to do them in bunches today. We have Pittsburgh moving up a spot. They could be higher. Baltimore dropped, of course, 2 spots after their bye week. Seattle, Amir, I'm back on the train. At the beginning of the year, I was super high on them. Then they kind of fell off. Now they're back. They've won 4 in a row, and right now they're in the
I'm
driver's
not
seat
buying it.
to win their division. And then Denver, of course, moves up after their bye week, just depending, just what happened with the teams around them. And Green Bay at number 10. It's a 10A, 10B situation. Green Bay and the Chargers lost to, in my opinion, the best 2 teams in football, but I had to move them down just because there's no reason to keep them above some of the teams like Denver and Seattle with how they've been playing and, of course, their situation. My top 5 remains the same as far it just matters on where they're placed. Buffalo drops 2 spots, even though Josh Allen, Amir, first quarterback to ever have 6 touchdowns in the game, 3 passing and
Ooh.
receiving in the same game. He's the MVP. There's no more argument. I don't care if they lose out. He is the MVP at this point in the season. Minnesota jumps up to 4. I mean, it's exciting to watch this team, not only for their offense, but to me personally, I'm a big Jordan Addison fan, and he's been dominating these last couple of weeks. And if he's got it going, Amir, I don't know how you stop this offense because you still got the best receiver in the game on the other side. This defense is also playing great at the moment. Philly at 3, KC at 2, Detroit at 1. A lot of top 10 matchups, as you see here, for me this week. So exciting games ahead. Amir, your top, your 6 through 10, you have one team that I don't there, and explain that for us.
So on my 9 to 10, they still remain the same with the Chargers and the Broncos. This Chargers team lost against Kansas City. Some black magic. Them hitting the kick off the upright and it bouncing in. It's really not much you honestly could do. At my 8th spot, I have Green Bay. Green Bay, in my opinion, they're really striving
Yes.
offensively. Defensively, they still have moments though where they have some major lapses. But this offense can really score on anybody, in my opinion. At my 7th spot, Baltimore. Baltimore's defense is absolutely terrible. This is easily the worst Baltimore defense we've seen in a while, man. And it's
Yes.
bad. And the
Yes.
reason why,
That
and
secondary.
honest, I'm gonna be honest. I was making this ranking. I really struggle putting them all the way down to 7, but it's like this defense has been that bad. It's like even if Lamar throws for 400 and Derrick Henry runs for like 150, they're still going to give up 30 plus points. Every
Yeah.
game is a shootout. At my 6th spot, Minnesota. Sam Darnold's playing great. I kind of bashed him earlier in the year for starting off hot and then completely just falling off the map. The defense is playing great, but Sam Darnold has taken a huge step, though.
Yes.
Jordan Addison, major game last week. Justin Jefferson, still amazing. At my 5th spot, Pittsburgh. I hate putting Pittsburgh this high, but Pittsburgh just continues to keep proving me wrong every single week. And I've been high on Russ. I've been high on this team, but it's like still like Pittsburgh is still exceeding every single expectation I had. Buffalo at 4. Buffalo lost to the Rams. I mean, it's the Rams. The Rams are always going to upset big teams no matter what.
Yes.
They're still when healthy, absolutely legit team. In my opinion, when healthy, a top 5 offense. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
At my 3 spot, Philly. Philly has a huge test this week to kind of continue this win streak. Philly's defense has taken a huge step in the right direction from last year. Last year they were terrible. This year they've been lights out. The offense is lights out. The only concern I have for Philly is Jalen Hurts. That's it. And the problem with Jalen Hurts that I have is like, week by week, all he has to do is the bare minimum. But I'm still concerned. I don't know why. I'm just concerned. And KC at 2, Detroit at 1.
Yeah, interesting fact here, and we'll talk about it in a moment. For the Rams and the Bills, for Bills fans, the Rams have won 6 games this year as underdogs, according to Vegas. So
Yeah.
that's just what they do. They have 7 wins on the year, 6 of them are as underdogs. So if they're underdogs, you want to take them. And that's what we're going to get into now. Of course, last week, Amir got the better of me, right? He was 10-3. You won the week, Amir. And you have closed the gap to now 5 games here as we approach the latter half of this year. I was 8-5, not too far behind, but on the year, we're just about at the 70% mark. So we know what we're talking about. But let's get into the early slate here. Of course, with Thursday night, we'll kick off here. The LA Rams go to San Francisco. They're underdogs. Like I mentioned, 6 of their 7 wins have been of such as underdogs. And San Fran they're struggling right now. But outside of that, we agree on pretty much every game in the early slate on Sunday, outside of Dallas going to Carolina. To me, it's weird to see. I understand Carolina's home. They've been playing really good football at the moment. They were in the game against Philadelphia, and if Xavier Legette caught the ball, they would have beat Philadelphia most likely. But to me, it's just Dallas having CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons. I'm going to bet on the talent of Dallas. Maybe this is one of those games where they squeak by and Mike McCarthy can say, maybe this game saves my job, especially now that Bill Belichick, Amir, is at North Carolina. Who saw that coming? But Amir, any thoughts on the Thursday night game and any game in the early slate on Sunday?
Man, what I say that Miami Houston game is going to be a shootout.
Yes.
So bettors, if you're betting on receiving yards for Jonnu, Waddle, if you're betting on overs as far as points, listen, that's going to be a high score matchup, shootout. Also, this Thursday night game, the Rams at San Fran. This is a really weird game. Last week San Fran had a major get right game, and my concern, for this Rams team is defensively, man. This Rams defense is bad. The run defense is bad. The pass defense is bad. They get carved up every week. And this San Fran pass defense, I want to say since week 10, they're only averaging like 150 passing yards, per game given up. And so, everything is kind of pointing towards San Fran to start trending in that right direction. I'm still leaning towards the Rams because the Rams last week offensively looked great, and this San Fran team is still riddled with so many injuries, though.
Interesting. I'm looking here at the Sunday slate. Amir from Washington down, and for me personally, I picked 6 of the road teams in the early slate. Again, look out on the comment section because we might, if we ever change our picks, we'll let you know in the comments. But 6 of the 7 games in the early slate, I took the road team there. Not always a good sign. Now, for that Miami and Houston game, Amir, we'll talk about it later, but I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as it's projected to be. And we'll talk about that again with our best bets. In the mid and the late slate here for week 15, we agree on every single game. We're taking the Chargers at home against the Tampa Bay Bucks, and both teams are fighting for playoff positioning. Tampa, on one hand, is fighting for their division. Denver at home taking care of Anthony Richardson. The Cardinals bouncing back in a huge way against the Patriots. Detroit and Buffalo, Amir. Huge game there. You can argue these are still 2 top 3 teams in the league in Buffalo and the Detroit Lions. Look, the Detroit Lions don't lose at home, right? And we know one thing, there's going to be a lot of points scored in this matchup because that's just what happens when you go to Ford Field. A lot of points are usually scored. Is there any chance here in your mind that Buffalo can go into Detroit and knock off this juggernaut?
I think Buffalo gets smoked. And, I've been saying this all year long. I love Josh Allen, but man, like this Buffalo team, not having talent and depth sometimes hurts them. You kind of saw last week where it's like, playing against a legit offense, a passing attack or a running attack, there's not much they can really do. And it's especially like this Buffalo defense is not built to stop the run. We kind of see week in and week out this Buffalo defense would just sit in a 3-down lineman set, sit in nickel, with a bunch of DBs in the game. And we honestly saw last year where Kyron Williams ran for like 50 yards in that first quarter. And you honestly kind of saw earlier that this year where Derrick Henry had like 200, had like the 20 yards on the ground. And so I think this week, this is a really big Gibbs game, Montgomery game. I think Detroit's going to run all over them. Josh Allen's gonna kind of have a week similar to last week. I mean, not close to it, having 6 touchdowns, but he'll probably throw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns. I think Detroit still smokes them.
So what I'm hearing is I'm going to bet the at least 25 yards from Jameson Williams. That's what I'm hearing. I'm here. And Buffalo's going to put up a lot of points. But I agree. I think Detroit wins this game. I don't know if it's a blowout, but I think it's definitely going to be probably a 1 or 2 score game where Detroit wins it, and I think the score might even do Buffalo a little bit of justice there in that one.
Yeah.
Now the Battle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh goes to Philly. Last time these teams played, A.J. Brown dominated. Now, why is that important? Well, he's been in the media this last week. It's been all over where A.J. Brown has complained, basically saying that the weak part of this offense is passing. And there's one cardinal rule typically in the game of football where you
Yeah,
don't criticize your quarterback. That's one thing you just don't do, whether if you're
yeah,
a coach, a player on the team, you don't really criticize your leader, so to speak. But A.J. Brown did it. And I think, hey, as the alpha that A.J. Brown is, I don't blame him because this passing attack has struggled. I mean, there's compilations, Amir, where there's so many times that Smitty is running down the field wide open or A.J. Brown across the middle or down the field, and Jalen Hurts is just missing them. And they're wide open, and this offense
yeah,
could be more dominant if Jalen Hurts would just find them and actually throw the ball down the field. Your
yeah.
thoughts on A.J. Brown's comments as a player, Amir? Would you, I guess, look at it? How would you look at it if a player were to criticize your quarterback?
Well, first of all, AJ Brown has every right to be upset. But the one thing you don't do is take it to the media and you cause tension between the things. At the end of the day, me as a player, I'll never call out my quarterback in front of outside sources.
Right.
I will keep that in the locker room, talk to him straight up, and I wouldn't let tension kind of get in between the team. I mean, at the end of the day, like this team has won almost 10 straight games. You're trying to win it all, trying to
Yes.
be dominant. It's like 2 years ago, and so it's like it's not only about you. You know what I mean? But I would say this though. Kellen Moore has constructed this offense to be built around Saquon. And I was looking at the numbers the other day. This is Jalen Hurts' lowest passing per game since his first year in the league. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this Philly offense is built to run the football, and it's like if the run game isn't going, the passing attack struggles. And so, I said the same thing about Houston. Like you have way too many options, way too many weapons in that receiving core to not have a dominant passing attack as
You're right.
well. And it's like, I'm always worried about Hurts because it's like Hurts misses AJ Brown on wide open reads, misses Smitty on wide open reads, and it's like especially like this week where it's like Pittsburgh's run defense is elite. You're gonna have to rely on Hurts, and Hurts has to find his guys. He has to.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Pittsburgh definitely has a chance at an upset here, but I just think the talent wins out at home for Philadelphia. You have the home crowd behind you, and it's not necessarily an easy place to play. So I'm going to go with Philly in that one, but I think definitely that could be a popular upset pick this week, if you even want to call it an upset with how good Pittsburgh has been this year. Now, Sunday Night Football, the only thing I want to mention here is that I might actually change my pick to Seattle. Now, going against my favorite player in the league, Jordan Love, is never easy for me. But every team that has lost to Detroit this year, Amir, has lost the next week. It's the Detroit hangover. And Green Bay last week lost to the Detroit Lions. So it's just something to look out for. Seattle at home, one of the toughest places to play. Seattle's rolling. They might actually be able to pull out a win here against the Green Bay Packers. I will keep you guys updated in the comments. Minnesota, Atlanta, pretty easy picks there on Monday Night Football to wrap up our week 15 picks. Now, Amir, here's the fun part. All right, we are we are degenerates. We are addicted gamblers, let's just say. But we're going to give you guys our favorite player props, our favorite spread and over-unders on the week, as we always do. To me, I'm going to hammer on my hometown team. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs are, of course, coming to Cleveland this week. It's going to be probably, I won't say snowy conditions. It's going to warm up a little bit, but it's going to be cold here in Cleveland. So to me, even though it's going to be a run-heavy script, the Browns have so many issues on the back end of our defense. I'm going to go with the speed man himself, the fastest player in NFL history, Xavier Worthy, over 38.5 receiving yards. He's cleared this line in like 4 of the last 5 weeks. And if you don't like the 38.5, I've seen some places where he's over 2.5 receptions, and I kind of like that line better. But I think by the time you guys see this, that's going to get bumped to 3.5 and even maybe even 4.5. For Xavier Worthy, they like to use him in so many different ways, whether down the field or underneath. And I just think the Browns, with all the miscommunication that we do have, he's going to have a big day, maybe at least 50 to 55 yards. So I like Worthy to have a big day. Now, Amir, where are you going here? I know you're going to Detroit for running back. Are you going for Sonic or Knuckles?
Sonic. So my pick is Jahmyr Gibbs over 68.5 rushing yards. So he's covered this line 9 out of 13 games this year. And really, I mean, this Detroit O line is gonna completely body this Buffalo defense up front. And I completely understand. On team rankings on NFL Reference, it's saying Buffalo's run defense is like top 10 in the league. But I'm telling you now, I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yes.
I've seen Baltimore's front completely bulldoze this Buffalo defense up front.
Yeah.
I've seen last week that the Rams but bully this defense up front. This Buffalo defense is not built for the run at all.
Yeah, when you look at the run packages for Buffalo, Von Miller's not on the field anymore, right? He's only really
Yeah.
a specialist on second and long or third and longs. He's a pass rush kind of a guy at this point in his career. So it's Ed Oliver and who else on that defensive front? Greg Rousseau, but he's even more of a
No.
pass rusher than in the run game. Our favorite spread pick on the week, I'm going to go back to Kansas City. Why is the line at 4? I don't understand, right? I know Jameis might keep this close. I know he might, make this an interesting first half that keeps the Chiefs aggressive throughout the first 2.5, maybe 3/4 of the game. But as we've seen in every game so far with Jameis, he's going to throw the game away at some point in time. And this is one of the best defenses in the league. We're not going to be able to throw or run, excuse me. So it's going to force Jameis to throw. And when Jameis throws, he's going to throw as many touchdowns as interceptions. So some of those interceptions might even go back for 6. Chiefs -4 here at Cleveland. I mean, I don't know why it's so low. I definitely think it's going to be bumped to almost a touchdown. But Amir, your favorite spread pick on the week?
So I was going to lean towards Kansas City, but man, Kansas City hasn't covered a 4-point spread in like 7 straight weeks.
I didn't even know
crazy.
that. Wow.
Which is crazy. And the Vegas line makers, I think at the beginning of the week it was at like -3.5 originally, but it's at 4, and it'll probably get bumped up even more. But I'm leaning towards a road team here in the Green Bay Packers. I think Green Bay beat Seattle at Seattle. Me, I've been calling Seattle fool's gold from the beginning. I would say defensively, they're finally playing like how they should play. Secondary is playing great. The run defense is playing great. I just think Green Bay has too much on both sides of the ball. It's tough to play at Seattle. You brought up a great point about Green Bay losing to Detroit last week. The big time 4-field hangover or whatever. But I just think, it ends this week. I just have a feeling Jay Love's going to go crazy. Jayden Reed's going to go crazy. Josh Jacobs is going to go crazy, and Green Bay wins this.
Yeah, I think Jayden Reed needs to actually do a little bit more than us sitting on our couch this week, not 0 receptions for 0 yards. If that happens, hey, Jordan Love might actually be able to win a game, a big-time game, if his receivers come to play. Our favorite over-unders on the week, I hinted at it earlier. I've talked about it in my fantasy shows. This is the game where I think it's going to be the trap game of the week. I think everybody believes that these teams are just going to light it up and it's going to be a huge, 30-34 game. I don't think so, man. I think the Miami's defense has been playing really good the last couple of weeks, and Houston's defense we know has the talents there, and they're a completely different team at home compared to on the road. I think this pass rush bothers Tua, and I think it's a better chance that this game could be like a 30-13 game, right? More so than, the shootout that everybody's expecting. I understand both offenses have the firepower, but the defenses have been playing good as of late. So at Houston, I think I'm going to go with the under here, and that might be a bit of a shock here this week. Amir, your thoughts on that under, really quick.
Honestly, I kind of get what you're saying. It's crazy you put that, because originally I was going to go ahead and take the alternate line for the over.
Yeah.
But, Miami's defense, for those weeks Tua was out, played great.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is both quarterbacks turning the ball over, setting up, great spots for both teams to score. That's my biggest concern, especially Stroud.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, your over/under on the week is it still is it in the Miami game as well?
No, all right. So my over, I'm spinning back to the same as that game, Green Bay at Seattle. I'm taking an over on this game. I think this game is going to be a fairly high scoring game. Just for the simple fact that this Green Bay team has scored over 30 points. I want to say in like 9 out of 13 games as well. And so, I think this game might be like a 30-23 game, 30-27, something like that.
Yeah, late field goal for the win seems like a typical game there on Sunday Night Football. The race for Travis will make this quick. If your team sucks, they'll be on this list. Now, Carolina, I think, has been playing the best out of any team on this list, and I don't think maybe with what we've seen, they'll probably not get a top 5 pick at the end of the day, but as of right now, they're at number 4. Jacksonville, with 1 win, Amir, drops all the way to 5. So that means that if they were to go after a quarterback or, maybe Travis Hunter, they are now in a position where they have to trade up or just lose out, and hopefully the others around them win some games. But Amir, this is the big thing on the show today, and I saw something, and I don't remember who, so I can't give them credit, but I wanted to do this because I want to get your opinion on some of these quarterbacks that are in question going forward, whether based on age, whether based on situation, or who is behind them. What are you going to do? So put yourself in the GM shoes, Amir, and let's talk about these quarterbacks. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. Would you cut Aaron Rodgers if he was on a 1-year deal? Would you give him one more year, like a 1-year extension, or extend him for multiple years? Right? So you can cut him, you can give one more year, or you can extend him for multiple years down the line. I'm going to start it off here with the Jets' current situation. I'm going to cut him. I'm going to cut him. Let's say we bring in a new coach, bring in a new quarterback, and we just kind of start fresh at that position. Maybe bring in a veteran, right, to kind of use, to I guess, bridge, right, the new quarterback that you do bring in. But Amir, what are you doing with Aaron Rodgers if you're the GM?
I'm gonna be honest. Given the fact that the Jets organization, Aaron Rodgers, like they basically completely just ruined this opportunity to make a legit playoff push, to make a legit contending team with this amazing roster. I'm gonna cut him. I'm gonna be honest. Rodgers started the season off way too slow. Obviously, he's playing better as of late, but it's like he basically forced for his defensive minded head coach to get fired. The defense had like 6 straight weeks where they have played terrible football for their talent. Offensively, the offense is still stagnant at times, man. Like it's still stagnant. And so I think now at this point, you got to bring a new coach in, get a new quarterback, and just basically start fresh with the talent you already have.
Yeah, boy, did we both fall into for the fool's gold. I think I'm honestly at fault for you buying into the Jets before the season because of how much I was hyping them up in the offseason. But you live and you learn, right? For as many good predictions I've had, that one definitely brings it back down to earth. For Dak Prescott, this is a bit of one where, Amir, it's situation, right? We know Dallas fans are very adamant about contending and competing for a Super Bowl. And we know Dak is good, but is he great, right? Is he the quarterback that can get you to that next level to win the Lombardi trophy and get back to where we know Dallas has been in the past? Amir, your thoughts on Dak Prescott, man? To me, I think you give him one more year, right? I think you bring in a new coach, get rid of Mike McCarthy, and see if this new coach can find something in this offense. If not, maybe you look to trade him, kind of like how Russell Wilson's situation ended up there in Seattle and Denver. Amir, he's good, but is he great in your opinion?
I try so hard to defend that. I mean, the dude came back from a broken leg. He came back from his family member dying and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's played great, but it's like, man, he gets to the playoffs and it's the complete opposite. Me, when I'm ranking guys, I value playoff translation.
Yes.
But with that being said, I still lean towards extension just because he's kind of the quarterback where it's like, it's so hard to really find, like top 7 to 8 quarterbacks. Like it's tough. And it's like for Dak, like we know, last year he played on a near MVP level. Had the numbers, played good in the regular season, and it's like, knowing how Dak bounced back from his last major injury, surgery. I'm confident that he's going to bounce back and play well enough. I just think, I think it's not really on Dak. I think it's on the whole entire, just like management, culture issues every single year. I think it's beyond that.
I think the biggest decision for them coming up is that head coaching spot, maybe even the GM. We need to get that domino to fall first before we can figure out, I think, what you do with Dak going forward. But we're at least, both of us are going to give him one more year based on their situation. Now let's go to Pittsburgh, Amir. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. We know Justin Fields was picked up where he's traded for, and he was told right away, hey, you're going to be the backup. You can kind of compete for the starting job, but this is Russell Wilson's job. Justin Fields started the season after some injuries to Russell Wilson. He was 4-2. And as we know here, as we heard a bunch about it, it was a questionable decision. But Mike Tomlin made that tough decision. And Russell Wilson has stepped in as the starter, despite the amazing starts of the season for Pittsburgh. And they've looked even better. They're like a top 2, top 3 offense since he's taken over. And we'll go to him first. I understand he's 36 years old, Amir, but as you just told me, but this is a guy that I think you can give, let's say, 2 more years to. And with modern medicine, I mean, with how he's looked this year, Pittsburgh's never been a place where they solely rely on the quarterback to carry them over the top. It's always the defense and the weapons around the quarterback. So Russell, I think, You can extend him for 2 more years, get him till he's 38, maybe even 39, right? And who knows, at that 39 year, right, on his last year of his deal, he could just be a mentor, right? He could be a backup quarterback to whoever takes over for him down the line. And to me, we'll talk about it in a moment. I just don't think that's going to be Justin Fields. I don't think that's going to work for his camp. But Amir, for Russell Wilson, what are you doing here in Pittsburgh?
You brought up a great point. At this point in his career, he's 36. You never know, because with older quarterbacks, the drop off sort of just comes out of nowhere. So I think for Pittsburgh, you extend him to maybe like a 2 years. I say 3 year at max. Extend him for sure. And I think eventually you could either sign like a younger quarterback in free agency, maybe draft a guy in later
Right.
rounds, it's like a sleeper prospect, or if Russ was to, for some reason drop off like next year or the year after, you can kind of just like uh not I wouldn't say battle towards draft position because Mike Tomlin doesn't do that,
No.
but you can either trade up, maybe use him for capital, maybe trade up and like kind of just like snag somebody that's like a underrated prospect and build off of that.
Now this is multiple years down the line, but here let's talk
Yeah.
about Fields first. To me, I with how well he played this year, it's not I'm not saying that he's not worth an extension. He definitely is. But if I'm the Pittsburgh GM, I don't know if Justin Fields' camp are going to be okay with that, right? So I
Yeah, they
mean, if you
probably
take
won't.
the personal reasons out of it and career trajectory out of it, then yes, I'm going to extend Justin Fields and hopefully he stays for 3 years and then takes over. But I don't know if his camp's going to be okay with that. I think Justin Fields might want to go to another place like Las Vegas and maybe take over from day one and try to get a bigger contract down the line in his career. So I'm going to actually cut Justin Fields. I'm going to do the betterment of the player here, right? Maybe not cut him, right? But I'll maybe trade him, right? It's probably something better. But I just think for his camp, he's not going to be okay with sitting for 2 to 3 more years until he can finally be a starter again. Amir, your thoughts on Justin Fields in that theory?
So first of all, do I think Justin Fields is going to stay? Absolutely not. But I'm going to make this, or I'm going to make this stance based off the fact that, like, let's say if Pittsburgh can't keep him,
Right.
I will bring him back for one more year, just because Justin Fields is a serviceable quarterback, and with these older starting QBs like Russell, you really just never know.
Yeah.
Um, we kind of saw with Rodgers. Rodgers' arm talent is definitely still there, but it's like you kind of saw like a major drop off out of nowhere
It's
in
quick.
his
Yeah.
last year, right? In his last year in Green Bay, but then he comes back the year after that, gets hurt the first play of the game against Buffalo in New York, and then this year has still dropped off. And so I see you bring back Fields for one more year. If Russ was to have a major drop off, you could eventually start Fields because he's shown that he's definitely serviceable. He could definitely be solid, and has also had a full year to kind of learn and develop.
I think that would be the ideal situation for Pittsburgh. But again, I just don't know if they're going to be able to
It won't
convince him
happen. It
to
won't
come
happen.
back, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really think he's going to go elsewhere in just a couple months. Now, Deshaun Watson, Amir, I think that's America's favorite quarterback. I think we can say that confidently at this point in 2024. Everybody in America loves Deshaun Watson, especially Cleveland Browns fans like we are. But with that being said, if he was on a 1 year deal, and even I'm considering this now, right? I've talked about it in lengths. I think we can kind of pull off this idea or this whatever you want to call it, but we can basically draft a quarterback, try and develop him, and convince Watson that hey, we drafted this guy so he can learn from you, but also compete with you. So maybe that motivates Watson to play his best football in years. Who knows, right? Because Watson's dealing with this injury, but regardless, it's just the mojo is bad, right? Nobody really believes in Watson at this point, despite what everybody wants to say. He's just not good anymore. And I just don't want to bear to see another season with Deshaun Watson where he's just this shadow over the team where he it's not his fault solely, but he really feels like the sole reason why we regress so much this season. Again, not solely on him, but that's definitely what it feels like. And for everything that we gave up for him, I think it's just time to move on and let him go on to different things. I'm going to cut Deshaun Watson and test my luck elsewhere.
So for me, I'm gonna be honest. I probably should have said cut, but I said
Mhm.
one more year. Not because I believe in the shine. I think at this point, I think the chemistry is dead. I think the whole entire just like culture is dead as far as believing in him. It kind of seems like he's not as motivated to even play anymore. I said one more year just from the standpoint is like now, it's like now we're gonna have a top 10 pick. We'll probably go out and either trade up for a QB or draft a QB. And I still think a younger QB can still learn to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking about the future for a younger guy, and also too like if we cut him this year, we're gonna be paying him a bunch of money.
Hmm.
And so I said 1 more year. Do I want to watch him as my starting QB? Absolutely not. My ideal situation would be for us to bring him back maybe and then start Jameis to have like a younger QB, sort of learn from both of them.
I honestly don't. I think we've seen our last snap of Watson in a quarterback in a Browns uniform. I
Yeah.
honestly think that, even though that's not going to be ideal for our pocketbooks. Now, another situation like Pittsburgh, but in the NFC side of things, is Minnesota. You draft, again, you had to trade Kirk Cousins, so you're on to new things with your quarterback position. You pick up Sam Darnold out of the blue. You grab him really as a bridge quarterback for when JJ McCarthy, who you drafted, is ready to take over. So now, I mean, you didn't expect this start to the season for the Vikings, and now Sam Darnold is playing at an All-Pro level this season. He's definitely playing at like a top 5, top 10 quarterback level. Nobody expected that outside of probably Kevin O'Connell. So now you're in an interesting spot where do you keep Darnold? Because he's still only 26 years old. He is entering the prime of his physical career. Do you want to hold on to him with how well he's played this year? Or do you want to, do you want to just trade Darnold, maybe capitalize on this value and go ahead and just start JJ McCarthy next year? Or do you just have JJ ride the bench? It's an interesting situation that they're in because they wasted a first round draft pick on a quarterback. So now you might feel this pressure to play him is what I'm getting at here. Long story short. Now, along the way, they also picked up Daniel Jones, and I think we can agree on what to do with him. But Amir, Sam Darnold, to me, I'm going to give him 1 more year. I think, again, JJ's coming off of this ACL injury. He's not going to be fully ready to go next year. I think, honestly, Sam Darnold could play this year and next year, and then you make that tough decision going forward. Because I think if you can get 2 really good seasons out of Sam Darnold, I think that's really all you need to see to determine he's our guy going forward. Your thoughts on Sam Darnold, Amir?
Yeah, so I'll honestly give him 1 more year as well. He's obviously played great, and I'm gonna be honest too. There's times though watching Darnold throughout the season where it's like he's kind of reverted back to his old self, and I think most of the success for this team is the coaching. If I'm Kevin O'Connell, I have confidence in my coach, and I'm like, all right, look, it doesn't matter who's back there, I can develop them, and so I'm gonna give Darnold 1 more year. JJ's gonna sit back and learn. And after next year, I'm gonna move off from Darnold. I'm either gonna cut him or I'm gonna absolutely start JJ.
Yeah. Again, tough situation. I mean, I'll say this: it's not a tough situation; it's a good situation to be in if you are Minnesota. For Daniel Jones, I think we can make this quick. He signed with Minnesota, maybe to just be there as a security option, right? But I think he's just there to learn for half a season, like Baker did with his stops along the way, and then he's going to try and find his next stop, right, next season. I think we can both agree we're going to cut him, let him go his separate ways, and we're going to stick with the Sam Darnold and JJ duo. Any additional thoughts on Daniel Jones, Amir?
No, I mean I say cut him, let him roam free.
Yeah. For Geno Smith, we'll make this one quick, but he's here because of situation. They don't really have someone behind him ready to take over, but this is a roster that's ready to go now, Amir. And this is the guy that is, mid-30s? This is a guy that isn't necessarily entering. He's not young and he's not entering the prime of his career. He's kind of past that. Regardless, though, I think you give him 1 more year and you go into this offseason and you draft a quarterback, whoever you want that to be, and they learn from Geno for a year and then they can take over eventually down the line. Your thoughts on Geno?
Yeah, Seattle has been in this weird spot for the past few years, and it's like they actually have a roster that's ready to absolutely contend now. That offense is loaded with firepower. You got Kenneth Walker, a great running back. You got JSN who's completely emerged into an All-Pro level. DK, Tyler Lockett, who's physical prime is really going away. And so I think for Seattle was like you still go 1 more year, but you have to really, really look into getting a young quarterback to learn because I've been saying it the past few years, like they got to really get a QB to trade up, trade for somebody that's younger, that's going to take care of these keys later on.
A few minutes to this point in the video, let me know in the comments what you would do with Trevor Lawrence. with his recent injury. Again, you haven't had the success that you wanted after paying him all that money. Let me know in the comments what you would do with a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Amir, any last thoughts here? We did everything for week 15 possible. Fun show next week, but any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No last thoughts.
Well, we'll see you guys next week. If you enjoyed, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and go enjoy some football.